Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to the Liner Details Show, episode 4. I'm your host, Wes Pendleton, here with my co-host, Zari. What's up, man?
What's going on, man?
Also with my man, John Smythe. What's up, Smythe?
Yo.
And my homie, John McNeil. What's up, man?
Good to be here. Yes,
good to see you guys. Very good Friday, man. I'm excited.
Yeah, did you hear the enthusiasm in my voice? Yo! It's a little extra. It was a little hype to be here, but I love this podcast.
Yeah, I do too. And the funny thing is, I've tried to hold off of even calling it a podcast as much lately because I just really feel like eventually this is just going to become a show.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of the plan. So
keep tuning in.
Right now it's in audio form because it's like the easiest and the cheapest way for us to do this while we kind of build everything else out. But yeah, man, really excited for this week's topics. Grateful for everybody that's listening. Shout out to everybody that's checking in, especially you guys on YouTube who come through on Monday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern time to live chat with us as a team. It's been really fun. I think last week was like the best week so far, man. Just the camaraderie in the chat section.
Indeed.
And we were rivaling the finals. So
yeah,
for y'all who came out when you could be watching the game.
Yeah. We definitely, the 7 p.m. thing didn't work out as well as I would have liked, but we really didn't want to have any conflict with overlapping with the game because first of all, I wanted to watch the game. And as much as I like this show, I love basketball.
Facts. Yeah. Shout out to Drake.
Anyway,
here we go.
Yeah, so this is Friday morning after the Raptors won. Shout out to the Raptors. It's great.
They're quiet.
Shout out to Kyle Lowry from North. You know what I'm saying?
North Filthy in the building. Let's
you
get
know what I'm saying? So
why, man?
It's a bad man.
Crazy.
I know.
But also prayers up for Clay and Kevin Durant, man. That's just such a sad way to go out. And these guys are looking like they're going to miss. Kevin Durant's definitely missing the whole entire next season, and Clay looks like he's going to miss probably at least half. A good portion. He's probably going to like quarters of that jump.
Wow.
Yeah. So, but anyway, let's hop right into these albums that you guys been listening to. Zara, you want to go first, man?
I've actually been dipping into this kid named TJ Brown. He's got an album called Colors.
Okay.
He's kind of has like a throwback feel to it.
Really?
More like
This is a new album?
It's pretty recent. Recent. But the kid's really nice.
Is this R&B or rap?
No, rap.
Really?
Rap, yeah.
TJ Brown.
He uses like pretty much like 90s kind of beats.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, so look at Smite. You see Smite's eyebrows go up?
I don't like stuff like that.
What do you mean?
Me and John have talked about this for a while.
So you can't be young and do 90s style records?
No, I didn't say that. What I'm saying is I just don't like records like that. Like if I want to hear 90s style rap, I'm going to go listen to rap in the 90s.
You know what, man? You were right last week. Last week when you said he was a musical elitist, I let you cook with that, John, and I was like, I was like, I don't know, John. I think that might be pushing too far, but you are wilding.
When you guys say musical elitist, in my head I just hear, oh, he knows what he's talking about. So yeah, anyway. I'm an elitist.
On brand.
Are you serious?
Yeah,
so,
I just
seriously.
He said he'd rather go to the source, but I think music, like musicianship and music, has always been about giving an ode to those before you. So I don't necessarily agree with that. I can understand what you're saying, like you'd rather go to the source, but if no one can be, give an ode to,
it's a good vibe. I mean, you got Joey that does a vibe like that.
What do you mean go to the
that
source?
Does a vibe like that.
That is the source. He's not borrowing.
Yeah.
No, he's saying like
I don't know TJ Brown. I don't know what his music sounds like. I just know that when I hear it, I'm just kind of like, I've heard this before.
See,
oh my gosh.
I mean, we wouldn't exist if like someone took that train of thought and just ran with it the farthest they could. They're like, I'm just gonna go to like other OG samples.
I mean, there's a lot of the young kids like these days that are actually into that. Yeah. Into that pocket. Like it's not trap or it's not any of that like mainstream rap. Like they're in that pocket like in their own where it's like that throwback feel to it.
Yeah, so I'll be more specific. I don't like when it's just a straight up carbon copy of like 90s rap. Cuz then it just kind of gets boring like it.
You mean like rhyme wise or production wise? Cuz I'm kind of confused cuz
saying both.
I'm saying both. So what I'm saying is like if I can just easily like put it in a box and be like, oh, this is supposed to sound like 90s, then I feel like I figured this record out already. Like, I don't need to listen to this. That's what it is for me.
I guess I can see that. I can see that.
Yeah. But y'all want to run with me being a contrarian or whatever, which again just means Smythe has good taste.
I don't know. I would only disagree because I think you would put Joey in that box, and I wouldn't put Joey in that box at all.
Well,
I feel like I'm not
would
gonna
you
say
put Joey in that box?
I'm not saying anything about anybody specific.
Would you put him in that box?
He would. He would. I think we talked about it.
Y'all really trying to put me. I feel like somebody.
You wanted to be juicy today.
Sheesh. Careful there, fellas.
Yeah.
It's all good, baby.
Phrasing.
Baby.
Sorry.
Speaking of the 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah, nah. I mean, I'll say this, like Joey has been in that box. He's not in that box. Last music that I've heard from him, he's not in that box anymore. But I think from his past stuff, like in Pro Era, like, yeah, you can put him in that box.
I don't think there's anything wrong with the newer generation dipping back into, that pocket from the 90s. I think it's pretty dope.
I mean, I think it's cool too, but I just don't like when
it's not something that you could sit and listen to.
I'm trying to find the boundaries for you. So you wouldn't put Earl there though, right?
Y'all really about to fill
yeah,
my...
man. Let's get
that's
to
a good
it.
question. That's a good
But
question.
see, Earl is more like he's more like Doom to me. Where it's like I don't really feel like even when I listen to Doom doesn't really have he doesn't have like a time slot, so to say.
That's what I love.
Yeah. I kind of put Earl into that. Remember who was that Joe Budden talking about his alien list that we were talking about?
Yeah.
I think Earl kind of
Earl's a young alien.
He kind of fits into that same mold where I think
stuff's very conceptual.
I think he really has to be like engaged to do music.
For sure.
Which is very telling of character for me. You know what I'm saying? Like he won't do music unless he won't do forced music.
Yeah.
Which reminds me of like a Doom or Andre 3000.
Timelessness is definitely an aspect that cats could focus on in a whole other conversation. It's like, yo, we still wear old kicks. Like I got Cortezes on right now.
Yeah, and them things is clean.
Yeah, bro. Timelessness is another discussion. I think it's part of this one maybe, but more so another discussion.
True.
But yeah, Earl's last joint was mad conceptual to me. I wouldn't even.
I love
put
that record.
Yeah.
Oh my.
I wouldn't even put that in like a 90s rap thing.
I never said that.
Yeah, I know. We know you did.
But you were struggling to answer if Earl was in that box.
Well, I wasn't struggling to answer. I didn't get a chance to answer.
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't feel like Earl is in that box.
Okay.
I also kind of get a little bored by Earl, so I don't really listen to Earl like that.
Yeah, I don't listen to Earl that much myself either.
Yeah. So, but again, like the 90s style rap that I listen to was actually made in the 90s, and I don't know. I just like it like that. Like I do listen to like boom bap stuff from like recent years, but that stuff is not trying to be like the 90s. It's just it's influenced by the 90s, but it is what it is.
That's what I'm saying. Like the kid is literally influenced by the 90s. A lot of these newer generation kids that are coming up that are even starting to like pick up that vibe from the 90s, like dress wise even as well.
Yeah,
they're influenced by it because they're not really with today's culture and like what it has to offer. They like going back into the 90s in the same way that kids from the 90s went back to the 80s.
Right.
Yeah. I just hope that they don't. What I do see a trend of from time to time is kids will start out in the 90s style to prove that they can rap. And then as soon as they get a contract, then they switch up.
Then they switch up. No, this kid is like, he's still in that same pocket.
Situation.
Maybe. That kid is in the same pocket. He hasn't changed as far as TJ Brown.
Not yet. Not until he gets that contract, and
I think he has a contract.
Somebody throw a $10 million at him.
Oh, he's about like a husky, like
not
crazy.
really, because that's never gonna happen. But you understand what I mean?
Probably not.
I mean, even if somebody threw $1 million at him, he probably. I mean, $1 million is a lot of money. Even by today's standards, it's still a lot of money.
It's a lot of money, but after what you guys taught me about advances and people blowing their advances and then end up having studio time and all this other stuff, like that was literally what your advance was for.
Yep.
To pay off your studio time, to pay off the producers, to pay off.
When I first came into this, in our group, the folks that we were around, there were guys that we knew personally that got advances, blew the entire advance.
See, but this is the thing, like me, I didn't know any of that until I came around you guys. Prior to this, when I hear that artists get advances, I'm like, oh, well, they just pretty much got money for them to do whatever they want to do with it. And then when their album sales, come up, they'll pay that advance back and then make money after they're done paying off whatever it is that they're doing.
Right.
But I didn't know that advance was the sole purpose of you actually
That's your
being
budget.
smart about it and
It's literally
taking.
your budget.
Yeah. See, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So let's keep that. Let's like pause on that because I actually think that we can rope this back into the second part of the discussion later on.
Okay.
So TJ Brown for Zari.
TJ Brown.
Smythe, what about you?
Yeah, so I actually you guys probably saw on my Instagram story, I was listening to Bobby Caldwell, his first, I think it was his first album, his self-titled album. And I found out the second track, I think it's called My Flame, is a sample for Sky's the Limit by Biggie. And it's just that first part of the song, that loop.
Yeah.
And they got like that kalimba. But it's just so interesting to hear like that, and then there's another song on the album, it's pretty dope, called Down for the Third Time. But with that My Flame track, it's just so interesting to hear in like 90s production. They especially like the R&B stuff where they would sample like familiar songs. They would really just put those like real heavy drums behind it.
Yeah.
And it would just feel like an anthem, you know?
I remember the first time I sampled Bobby Caldwell, and I did a little bit of digging, and I was like, wait, he's white?
Yeah.
I had no idea.
you know what's crazy? Like, speaking of the cookout pack that came out,
right?
Bobby Caldwell's definitely invited to every cookout.
Yeah, right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, that's an
album Domino's table.
You're right. That's an album that I'll throw on any day of the week. It especially rides real nice, like at this time of year.
Yeah.
Roll the windows down, get the sunroof open.
That nice breeze.
Yeah, bro.
It's like that pre-Quiet Storm, but still a little Quiet Storm, but still like 70s.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like that.
You know what it was? That era, it was clean enough to be like modern, and I'm using air quotes, clean enough to be modern, but still had enough grit and like warmness in the sample to kind of still feel like it was still 70s, even though it might have been early 80s or whatever.
Yeah.
Or late 70s, early 80s is kind of like the perfect pocket for sampling, in my opinion. We love to sample early 70s stuff, but some of that stuff is still dusty and got a lot of noise in the background and stuff like that. But yeah, man, that's what's up. John, what about you, man?
Definitely the new Gold Link joint.
Shout out to Gold Link.
Yeah, shout out to Gold Link, the DMV. I mean, I love that area. I was there for like almost 2 years living there when I went to Howard University. So I definitely understand the culture, understand the vibe. Gold Link definitely reps DMV, that sound, the way those guys rap. But he's just dope by himself. Like his vibe, his art, he's like real, like he's getting into more like the dance bass. I mean, he always kind of had like that like lounge feel with his music. Like he broke in kind of with that feel, but he's also had like some street joints. Like he hops on the trap joints and raps. But the album definitely he's ventured more into like that kind of Afrobeat situation going on. A lot of that going in there. And I'm not usually a huge fan of like the new kind of like pop Afrobeat records. But I like
Drake.
Yeah, but I like the way they approach it on this album, and even some of the producers. Well, I believe one of the producers, DJ Jules, spoke about that he had in mind of referencing back to the fella Cooties and all that. So it's like when I hear that stuff, I do hear, okay, there's more of like a authentic undertone of that vibe going on, that vibration in the music, and I felt that. And yeah, man, it's just a dope record, top to bottom. You gotta like just throw it on in the whip and ride. And that's what I had been doing,
right?
You know, with that.
And also too, you stumbled upon something very nice while listening to that record too.
Oh yeah,
Shameless plug.
All the way shameless plug right
yeah. Man, we definitely had, you know, one of our samples used on the record. Shout out to them. You Say was the record. Tyler the Creator and Jay Prince. We actually worked with Jay Prince top of the year out in Cali. Shout out to him. Well, Joel and Witt did. But yeah, man, dope vibes. I think it was from the 1993 pack.
Yep. Yeah, I think they swapped the horns out or something like
so
that.
It was really cool, man. We love hearing that. That's what we do it for, bro. We literally do it so y'all can just make vibes, man.
Yeah, we discovered, as soon as one of the fellas discovered in the group chat, it goes right into the group chat, like with the eye emoji looking to the corner, like
yeah.
we already know what it's hitting for when we see that.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean that feeling never gets old.
Nope.
At least once a month we'll stumble upon something, from our archives that somebody used, and it's just dope, man. And sometimes I struggle with like not really wanting to blow up their spot because it is royalty free, and sometimes when you allude to a sample or you make note of a sample, you're almost worried that like,
yeah, someone might take it the wrong way, like, oh, are they clocking me or something?
Yeah, you taking all the everything from me, like I didn't do nothing. It's just like, nah, bro. We just very appreciative of you using our sounds, for a record. And the crazy part with this one is, I went and actually looked at the track listing. That's like the biggest record on that album. It looked like from a liner note standpoint.
Possibly. I mean, yeah, as far as like the personnel on there, like Tyler,
that's what I mean.
Jay Prince.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, he's definitely pushed other joints as singles.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, his whole record is trending right now on iTunes. So that's
Right.
just dope in general.
Right.
Dope
But
luck.
if there's somebody that may not know who Gold Link is, if they go to that record,
Mhm.
that's going to be the record that they zero right in on and probably go to first, just because they see recognizable names.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's like, again, still just one of the best feelings in the world
Definitely.
to know our stuff is on major releases
Yeah.
with real artists,
Yeah.
like guys that are really doing this. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely.
I mean, no disrespect to anybody else, but Gold Link is really. I mean, anytime he puts out a record, that thing gets spins.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
I think even one of the sweeter parts for me is like we put out so many packs, especially last year, and it always seems to be the packs that just feel so random.
Right.
Like I remember when we did 1993, but how many packs have we done since then?
Yeah.
And for somebody to
So
go
many.
back and like take something from 1993 or like Sunset West or
Mhm.
whatever, even saying some of these names is just like,
Yeah.
I feel like we've already just moved on and we're on to the next thing. But
Right.
I just think it speaks to the fact that like we've been like dedicated to like creating stuff that people actually want to use,
Right.
for as long as we've been doing it.
Right.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
that's like probably like one of the most satisfying feelings of it is that we have such a diverse library in Soul Surplus that it's crazy just seeing, guys go back and purchase older packs. Like even when a new pack has dropped,
Yep.
they'll go to the store, listen to the new pack, but then stumble upon older stuff is like, oh wow, I could actually use this.
Yeah.
When we first started, when me and John and Joel first started, our main goal in that first year, probably 2 years, the first 2 years, it was like a race to raise our intellectual property.
Mm-hmm.
That's all we cared about. And I said, we won't really start turning a profit or making a significant amount of revenue if our library isn't big enough. So the goal is to create as much as possible. We never cut corners,
Right.
but we want to create as fast as possible, as much as possible, in the best possible way, using the best gear, using the best instruments, with, in my opinion, still the best talent out right now. And it's funny that we're talking about that specifically because that's actually going to be another segue into one of the things that we talk about later on in the show about how important intellectual property is.
Yeah.
And how IP it doesn't have an expiration date. It lives forever.
Indeed.
And I mean, you really, like, sometimes I watch how people steal our stuff all the time. And I'm like, you guys don't even realize like what you're stealing. You know what I mean? Like, we own the masters for all of this stuff. So you can steal it as much as you want, but we own the masters. You know what I'm saying? So it's just
when we hear it, it's just like, hey, kudos. Thanks for the pub.
exactly. Yeah,
Thanks.
man. So
Yeah,
but
for real.
again, man, that's really dope. So I guess I can share my joint for the week. My album for the week was the Big Tone record. It's a collab between or excuse me, Big Shoes record. Sorry, not Big Tone. Big Tone is the MC on the
Yeah.
record. Collaboration with Big Tone and House Shoes out in Detroit. Just a classic, timeless Detroit type hip hop joint. You know what I'm saying? I'm always gonna, anything that comes out of Detroit, especially from notable MCs or DJs or producers, I'm always gonna pay attention to. House Shoes doesn't really, I don't think House Shoes has ever had a misstep in my opinion when it comes to production. So I wasn't as familiar with Big Tone, but being able to listen to this new record and then go back and listen to some of his old catalog, my man's is nice. I mean, I had heard of Big Tone, but I just wasn't like, I didn't have like anything in my collection personally. But hard beats, dope melodies, dope samples, right up my wheelhouse. You know what I'm saying? Smythe would dig it, you know. No, you would dig it. Trust me. Yeah, I know you would dig it. Because this is not guys going back. This is guys from the era that still are very good at what they do, if that makes sense. Second joint, that's kind of a segue into our first discussion for the week, outside of our favorite records. We usually give stuff a week before we give it a nod on the show. But bro, that Got Me track on that Dreamers, what's it called? Revenge of the Dreamers single.
Yeah.
Bruh.
Yeah, it's fire.
With Ty Dolla $ign and I forget who else is on the record.
Oh, that beat is amazing.
Those dudes sampled Faith Evans' Come Over. And we just said on the first episode, anytime you are sampling 90s, like, you got me right in the breadbasket. You know what I'm saying? So that single actually just released, I think, Wednesday.
Yeah.
So the last couple of days, like, that's kind of all I've been listening to.
That's Dreamville, right?
Yeah. So remember back. So that's we might as well just segue into some news. So at the top of the year, they started the Revenge of the Dreamers. They all came together. Basically, I don't know if are you guys familiar with Revenge of the Dreamers? How that works? So you know how Jazzy Jeff has his the joint that he has in Delaware,
right,
where he invites like everybody out. It's kind of like that same type of vibe where they sent out like mass invitations to, and they use social media to invite people, which is really dope because I felt like this was a way for them to make news about the fact that it was happening, but then let everybody in on like what was going on. So instead of them inviting people in private, they literally sent out invitations over social media, prominent artists, prominent producers to come through, and it's a collab record, you know. And I'm not really sure what the business model for that is, or is it just like Cole just wanting to do something real dope? But that they started that, I think, at the top of the year in January, and we hadn't really heard much about it. And so at the top of the week, there was a whole bunch of people that changed their profile pictures to that yellow background that they've been using for branding purposes.
Yeah.
And they
loyal
stayed
fan base.
Huh?
Dreamville got that loyal fan base.
Oh yeah. Like, still to this day, I'm still blown away by just how much Cole's fans like really love him.
Yeah, bro.
And the dude Russ, you know the rapper Russ? He said,
do I?
Yeah. He said something which was very true. I know like Russ gets like a bad rap a lot of times because sometimes he says stuff that can borderline problematic, you know what I'm saying, to certain people. But he did say one thing that was all the way the truth. He was like, you know, it doesn't matter how many people are streaming your stuff. It's about the people that come to shows. And J. Cole will fill a stadium with the quickness.
Yeah, 70% of rev for artists is still merch and shows.
Facts. So they recorded this session in Atlanta. I think it was over the course of like 10 days. So they invited rappers like Big Crit, T.I., Rick Ross, Wale. There was a whole bunch of other people. Obviously, the whole Dreamville roster was there. And then they also invited notable producers like Ninth Wonder, Swizz Beatz. Khaled was even, invited. I don't know if he went there, but, they were invited. I'm pretty sure Ninth probably went. This sounds like something that Ninth would go. Obviously, it's North Carolina, so you already know that Ninth is probably going to be involved in some way. I hope he is. I still to this day love
Ninth.
Ninth.
So.
Yeah. Are you guys like big fans of collab albums? I feel like that's like
I love it.
Something that's like a dying art form. Because we used to get collab albums a lot when we were
Rough
younger.
Riders. Volume 1, Volume 2, Volume
Lyricist
3,
Lounge.
Lyricist Lounge.
Oh wow. Yeah. Okay. At first I was like, "What do you mean by collab albums?" And you said Lyricist Lounge.
Yeah. like a whole like the record label, like all the artists
That
just
was
like
Raucous,
hop
right?
onto.
Yeah, very much on brand Raucous record.
Yeah, those were that's almost a lost art, man. I used to love those albums back in the day.
Yeah, you get. I just feel like with collab records, you get the best of all worlds.
Yep.
And somehow, some way, they figure out a way to sequence it where it all makes sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Smythe, you seem like you conflicted.
Yeah, because I can't say that I'm against it, but I just can't really think of one of a collab album that I've liked as much as like as an artist album, like, or an individual. Like when you say Lyricist Lounge, like I think Oh No by Mos Def and Nate Dogg and Pharoah Monch, I think that was Lyricist Lounge. Like there's always songs off of those collab albums that I like, but as far as albums, and the thing is, even songs off those albums, to me they tend to get lost because it was like, oh, what was that song? The song by Eminem, you know, and it was like a random song that Eminem did for Sound Bomb, and I think was another one. I've been trying to find the name of that song, so if you guys know, let me know.
Which one was that?
There's a song by Eminem that he did for Sound Bomb, and I think that was Raucous as well. Any guy that would stand in front, or any man that would stand in front of a minivan, something like that. You know, Eminem is wild. Basically, my point is like songs, they just tend to get lost on albums like that, where like to me the most prolific stuff is like, you know, individual artists, like their debut albums, and you know, or like the real big statement albums where they take risks, you know.
For me, I would say the biggest collab album for me personally was probably The Dynasty, Rock La Familia.
I literally just pulled that up. That's literally
that was literally
and
that
the funny
was
thing was
major.
That technically
It wasn't a collab album.
It was actually a
but
Jay-Z
it
record.
was, yeah.
So that's, in my opinion, the first Revenge of the Dreamers. I think it was Revenge of the Dreamers 2. I think that came out like 4 years ago. I think it came out like 2014, 2015.
Yeah, 14, I think.
Yeah.
The first one.
That record really felt more like J. Cole presents The Squad. And that's what Rock La Familia was, in my opinion, was Jay-Z presents the Rockefeller roster. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, but this particular Revenge of the Dreamers Part 3 seems to be more collaborative across the board. Do you guys think that has something to do with the change in the music industry? Like, why wouldn't they do this and just keep everything in-house, you know? Oh, also, let's not forget about Good Fridays. You know what I'm saying? Was that 5 years ago? That, in essence, was like a collaborative effort.
Yeah.
But everybody that was on the Good Music imprint.
What was the name of that album?
It wasn't. I don't think it was an album. I think it was just a series of singles, wasn't it?
But there was an album that came
Like
out.
Cool Summer or something like that.
Yeah, Cruel Summer.
Cruel Summer. Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Yo, I'm sounding like a Herb, just forgetting all about Cruel Summer just now.
Yeah.
I'll say Cool Summer. So,
But see, like Cruel Summer, Summer, I feel like that was, for some people, that's like the last good thing that Kanye did for a lot of people. Now I know in this room, you should. I wish you guys could have seen Smythe's face.
It's very diverse.
There's about to be some furniture moving in here.
Yeah, but listen, I don't agree with that. I'm just saying, a lot of people feel like that was like.
You don't? I feel like you do agree with that.
No, I had pretty much.
Bluff.
No, because to be honest with you, I kind of checked out well before that.
Right. Yeah, you are.
I checked out well before that.
Well documented saying.
Wow.
I definitely checked out way before that.
We should save this for another podcast, though.
Yeah.
This is very deep.
If I tell you what point I checked out, you'd probably go Hulk right now.
Are you gonna say Graduation?
Let's save that for the next
No
podcast.
comments.
Late registration?
Kanye's a whole podcast by himself, bro.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, I still think Kanye's a genius.
Let's drop out.
No. Don't worry, folks. We'll give you this podcast soon.
Yeah. Oh, we are, Zari and I are all the way about to get killed in the comments for even making mention of the fact that we dropped off the bandwagon.
You'd be
quite a while
surprised,
ago.
though.
But
Our
you know
population might agree more than you think.
Yeah, true. The thing is, with Kanye, I've always felt like Kanye's issue is I feel like he's an overall creative. And I think he got to this, like, the end of his rope, in my opinion, where it was just like I don't feel like the music was as important to him because I feel like he kind of it's the same way with LeBron in LA right now.
Oh yeah,
where it's just like this dude Smythe is such a troll, yo. He gonna say,
so
"Oh
funny.
yeah."
well, because LeBron got traded to the Lakers, and at that point in his career, it was like
Troll, dirty bastard.
We all
Troll, dirty bastard.
I don't know. And then I would obviously disagree with you because I think like innovation kind of breeds the direction he's gone, and being an artist who's just always pushing limits.
But
it might call for some of the things you've gotten to now. I don't know.
that's for me is weird because it's like I feel like you are at that point purposely trying to stand out and push yourself away from what everybody else is doing for the sake of people talking about you. It's just like, oh,
Tough,
like,
bro.
this is-
that's
Tough one to
always
call.
been him.
Because like I
He's
don't
pretty on brand.
So I
He's pretty
understand what
on
he's
brand.
saying
Yeah.
behind the whole creative side,
Yeah.
where it's like he kind of felt like he didn't really care about the music anymore. He just wanted to be a
No,
creator.
I think he still cares about the music. I think he still cares about the music a lot. But sometimes I wonder if his vision is just too broad to just encapsulate him inside of music.
Well, no, he's never been that. He's always been a curator. He said who he has been. It's just the problem is some people's minds and ears have been more akin to curation in the realm of hip hop.
Right.
When it's like this man is a curator. Well, outside of that, he's a cultural curator. So it's like if you've already set your expectations to hear and experience curation in that way, it's definitely gonna like come up against that. So to me, I just think how broad it is just speaks to him always being that. But again, this is a whole other podcast, bro. We should probably
let's reel this joint back in. We're just going to take a quick break for a word from our sponsor. If you're anything like us fellas on the Soul Surplus team, you find yourself hitting various music studios or traveling out of state and staying in random hotels, or even touring with bands and sleeping on a tour bus for months. When you're at these locations, you have to rely on the available public Wi-Fi, which could leave you vulnerable to hackers. Imagine VPN as a hack-proof encrypted tunnel for online traffic to flow. Nobody can see through the tunnel and get their hands on your internet data. NordVPN gives you peace of mind each time you use public Wi-Fi, access personal and work accounts on the road, or want to keep your browsing history to yourself. There's even a NordVPN app. With one NordVPN account, you can secure up to 6 devices at the same time. Head over to nordvpn.org/soulsurplus and use the code SOULSURPLUS, all one word, so you can get 75% off a 3-year plan plus 1 month free. Again, that's Soul Surplus to get 75% off a 3-year plan with 1 month free. But yeah, man, I kind of feel like collaborative records are kind of a thing of the past.
Man, State Prop.
Can they come back?
State Prop was my joint.
I forgot about the State Property.
Yo,
That was a thing, bro.
Lord, State
We're all in the
Property,
Philly
bro.
area. If y'all don't know by
State
now,
Prop
that
Chain
was
Gang.
big for us, man.
State Prop Chain Gang.
State Prop.
Oh
That was the
my
thing for me. Those kind of records, like I understood back then, like why they did it.
Right.
Like it felt like it was part of, it was part of a whole strategy for the company, for the brand, where it's like, okay, even though, like when I look at State Property is a perfect example. When I look at State Property, you have all these guys on the label, yet somehow, some way, Freeway and Beans are always the most prominent. That's
Young
in that
Guns
group.
had a good run too, man.
They did, and
it was like
and,
runway for all of those.
and
guys.
that was all attributed to Dame, because like I mean Dame killed that first initial record. Like he really did his thing on that, and really tried to make them universally appealing.
Yeah.
Right.
Even trying to adapt the movie to the album.
But that's what I'm saying. That's
the
what
movie.
No, but listen, but that was genius.
That was
That's
genius.
genius.
Classic.
That's exactly what I'm saying. So like when I look at what Cole is doing with Dreamville and this Revenge of the Dreamers, it just doesn't have that same feel of when like when the Rock was doing these types of records. Like there was very much a specific strategy for why they were doing it.
Crews don't roll that way anymore with that real just.
Yeah, but listen, I don't even think
Effort.
it was crew, bro. I literally think it was all business.
Yeah.
Like in the early 2000s, because you're talking about. Let me break it down.
You go ahead.
So you got a whole bunch of guys on the roster that the universe is not that familiar with. We knew everybody in State Property because we're from here, but everybody doesn't know
That's true.
Oh, and
Crack.
Sparks, like nobody. If they might have heard PD Crack on a single, you know what I'm saying?
On that Neo joint.
But the wild part
Hold
about
on.
it is that they literally, what's his name? Oskino explained that he didn't know anybody until he
That's-
only knew Sparks.
That's what I'm saying.
Until they actually put them all
Yeah,
together. He was like, yo,
pretty
we
much.
think we should make them a group.
It's
Yeah.
all business.
They're all
So
That's
peep,
true.
right? So you get them all together. You get these guys right next to Beans and Freeway, so that way that the general public outside of the Delaware Valley starts to get comfortable and familiar with these names.
Mm-hmm.
Then you come out with a whole line of clothes that comes out at the same time as the record comes out.
Extra
you-
pockets.
Mad pockets.
Extra pockets on
I
the
still got 2 of my state property coats.
And then-
6X.
It was huge.
And then, I got a story about state property. Dickie say, yo,
Yeah.
my dad,
funny.
my dad
So
almost
funny.
murdered me. Yo, we're trying to
Yeah.
walk out the crib with that.
If
joint.
someone
Oh,
else
I
would
think you
have.
told me
Yeah,
that
my
before.
mom said the same thing. She
My dad
didn't
was
like
like, where
she
are you
didn't like
going?
it.
I live in the suburbs, bruh. Like, I don't live down
Oh,
the way.
yeah, no.
You know what I'm saying? I
was
came
in
down the
Philly.
steps. My dad was like, where you think you going with that jumpsuit on?
Look like you just got out.
Yeah,
Fresh
bro.
out.
My dad was
Even
like,
though what
my
we
dad,
do
and so my
is
dad had to have a
wrong.
conversation with. You
Listen,
are an idiot.
I didn't realize it at that age. I did not realize at that age that I was literally dressing like an inmate.
You literally looked like you was coming out of jail. But anyway, let me finish. I digress. So you had a record.
So funny.
You had a record. You had the singles. You had the music videos.
Mm-hmm.
Then, because see, you got to remember, this is still the era of the 45.
Sheesh.
This is still the era where DJs are getting singles and it matters. You know what I'm saying?
True.
So you have the album, but you have the singles, you have the music videos. Then they come out with the clothing line at the same time. Then they come out with the movie, which features the music, and they're all wearing the clothing line. Dame was a master at this.
Yep.
And this to me is kind of like, he really doesn't get his roses, man. I love Dame so much, man. He really does not get his roses.
Yeah.
This dude was so innovative to be doing this all the way back then, because in my opinion, this is all that companies do now because of streaming. You have to come out, you have to associate yourself with some type of brand because none of these labels are creating their own in-house, clothing
Not
brands
like
and stuff
Dame
like that.
Dash and Jay did whenever, you know.
So you literally have to do branded content where if you're putting out a record, then you, like before the record even comes out, look at what Khaled did in the whole controversy with his album not being number one. He teamed up with some water or some type of company that had something to do with drinks or something like that.
Energy drinks.
Yeah.
Energy drinks.
So he teamed up with them thinking that was going to push him to the number one, but like it failed.
Yeah.
Right. So now it's
Wait,
like,
so now why is it that they don't count those sales?
because they didn't send them out yet. And like in the mail, it's not guaranteed until it's in receipt of the person.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's why he missed it, and that's why he was mad. So anyway, I don't even want to get on that, John.
Diplomatic immunity was another good one too. Sorry. I don't
Jeez
know.
Louise, oh my gosh.
Dame had something to do with that too, right?
Yeah.
Of course.
Such
Just
a
speaks to everything you just said.
classic.
He literally, in my opinion, and this kind of goes hand in hand with like, I really think that there are certain people that are walking this earth that genuinely get it, and if you are not in like the package that the world wants to hear that from, they will try to kill you.
Oh, they try to get Dame all the way out of the paint so many times.
Try to say he's crazy. Why is he so loud?
He's
Blah,
a
blah, blah,
shark.
blah.
He's a pit bull.
Yeah, but also he's very brilliant.
He
He
is.
knows what he's talking about, and the people that he's
Listen,
talking
I
to,
can
they
honestly
know he knows what
I
he's
can
talking
sit here
about.
and say that Jay's career would have steered completely different if Dame Dash was not involved.
Goes without saying.
There's no way Jay would be where he is right now if
But it also
he
speaks interesting
and
enough
Dame did
to
not get together.
It speaks interesting enough though to why they kind of had to part ways though too, and the ascent that Jay-Z has had. I mean, he's had to be way more diplomatic. I would say Dame's way he rolls isn't quite diplomacy,
No.
but it's just like, I know I have the goods.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, and people don't like it. They don't like it when you know what you got sometimes. You know?
Dame Dash is moving now. He's got his own app where he provides his own streaming services that he creates, his own content.
Yeah.
And, you know, it is turned into a subscription-based thing. The man he's smart.
I mean, you know the kind of people that don't like Dame Dash. Chatty Patty.
Oh, I'm sorry, did you say Chatty Patty? Because someone that I spoke to recently told me that Chatty Patty is not a thing.
Sheesh.
that it's not Chatty. I forgot what the name. It's not Patty. It's like a different name. But I said it's Chatty Patty. But you know that's neither.
That's what Dame Dash said on the Breakfast Club, right? In that interview. Y'all don't remember that?
Not going to disparage my man Dame. Not doing this.
Well, I'm not disparaging Dame. I'm laughing because it was hilarious in the interview. He's like, I'm not gonna speak on another man. Yo, Chatty Patties.
Is that the same interview where they got the GIF from where he goes pause?
That's
Yeah,
exactly where I got it from.
Yes. And Murder Mook is sitting next to him.
Classic.
Yeah. But I mean, you know, getting back to the subject, you know, like when I watch this, it just kind of proves that the music industry is so different because in the past, for a collaborative effort, it really was an in-house thing. Like that was the sole purpose for doing it. Mm-hmm. And if you did it for any other purpose outside of that, it was really for like money. So I think about like Jay and R. Kelly, you know what I'm saying, doing the best, which is still the worst idea. It was like the smartest idea on paper, but still like the worst idea ever.
In the battle
I think trying to go back and do it twice. Trying to go back and do it twice was the worst idea.
In hindsight.
Business-wise.
Because on paper, it made all the sense in the world. You know,
I think the first one did pretty well. Their joint collaborative project, but the second one was kind of like, all right, like you're pushing it now. Like that.
Watch the Throne was my joint too.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. That's like, that's all in house.
See,
everything that good music did, everything that good music did, that was all in house. That was Kanye trying to showcase.
Right, but I think they were kind of trying to bring like a, you know, 2 artist album back like recently, like, you know, because you know there's talks of Kendrick and J. Cole, but then there was also talks of Meek Mill and Nipsey dropping a joint collaborative
which
project.
Would have ended the entire universe if that came out. That would have been so good, man.
It would have been 2 Street. 2 Street
that
for our own good.
Actually,
I would have loved it.
I don't know. I would have. I actually kind of feel like it would have been pretty balanced. I think it would have been a little bit more along the lines of, I think there would have been a lot of social justice talk.
Oh well, yeah, that's what I mean. Like that's part of the streets too.
A lot of
very true. Very true.
It's like, yo, they have some good things to say right now, especially Meek. He has some people can get past who he is sometimes on the surface. He has a lot of good things to say right now.
Right. Yeah, man. Shout out to Cole though. I mean, I'm looking forward to the record. You know what I'm saying? I wanted to talk to you guys about it and see what you thought about it, just because I thought it was odd that you have all these different, and sometimes I actually wonder if that's why it took so long for it to come out, because I didn't really get to look into like who's on what label, because if you're borrowing somebody from another label, you got to jump through all these hoops because of publishing and all that stuff.
I really can't imagine what kind of loops you have to jump for that. That's crazy.
Yeah. You guys got anything to say else? Anything else? Any thoughts on that?
Nah, man. I hope it's dope. I hope we get it soon.
Yeah. I hope we get that J. Cole and Kendrick soon, but you know.
Wishing.
That's never gonna happen.
We'll probably get another Kendrick record before that. He might be due, right? I said we might get another Kendrick record before that.
You can't wait?
I can't wait for another Kendrick.
Yeah.
Not Kendrick and J. Cole. I don't want to hear that.
Really?
I really don't.
J. Cole?
Why?
J.
Is
Cole
that
be
his best
murdering
when he's with
people.
other people, in my opinion.
Yo, J. Cole features? I'm not the biggest fan of his album, but his features, like the one he did for 21.
Yeah, he drops 81 on his features to me.
Yeah.
I'm just not a fan of that.
But maybe I shouldn't say this, which means I probably should say this. Like I was saying before, when people talk about like J. Cole and Kendrick, it's like, yo, why would you water down Kool-Aid? That's what it would be to me.
Like both of them being on a record together?
Yeah, it's like you got Kool-Aid was so sweet and good,
right? And
you just water it down.
Because of both of them will be on the same record together?
Yeah, I'm not gonna say who's the water and who's the Kool-Aid.
I mean,
I don't know.
Clearly,
man.
You think J. Cole is the water. Let's not dance around your little party over here, bro.
This is a very pro.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Kendrick.
John Smythe.
Yeah. By the way, let's lay a disclaimer. Where the majority of the team is just extremely pro Kendrick. We are not against J. Cole.
Yeah, I'm not.
Definitely
We're not. We don't hate J. Cole.
Love what he does. Love what Dreamville is doing.
Exactly.
For real, man.
Exactly. But I think that everybody on the team is just so enamored by what Kendrick is able to do. You know what I'm saying? As a creative. I really honestly think that the only reason why it hasn't happened is because of labels.
For sure.
Yeah. Money.
You're talking about what's that?
Probably trying to split.
Rock Nation and who's Rock Nation under?
It's TDE
is that
and
Sony?
Dreamville.
No, I'm talking about the parent.
The parent.
Oh, yeah.
So I think
Maze,
Kendrick is on Warner. Is Interscope
He's
on
Interscope,
Warner?
so that's
Interscope.
I think that's Sony.
It's Universal, I think. No. Yeah, I don't know.
Anyways,
I think Interscope
You
is
are research.
Warner.
is it?
I think so.
You might be right.
Yeah. I'm probably all the way wrong right now.
Yeah, who knows?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I'm sure
was-
that red tape has something to do with it.
No,
And-
they're actually owned by Universal.
Okay.
Interscope is
Which
owned by
which
Universal.
makes sense.
I was right.
Which
yeah.
is a nice little segue into the main portion of this
Yeah.
well.
of this talk. Man, the New York Times this week dropped an article which
Wow.
has low key.
Wow.
I'm like, yo, you want to talk about
Somebody in trouble.
fumbling the ball? Somebody gonna get fired.
If
they haven't already been fired.
Multiple people got fired. They had to have gotten fired back when it happened. There's no way that they still have their job today.
This is bad. So
Yeah.
on Tuesday, the 11th, the New York Times dropped an article and reported on a fire that happened on the back lot at Universal Studios out in California. The article is entitled "The Day the Music Burned." We'll actually include the link for that article because I would encourage everybody that's listening to the show, you have to read that article. It took me like a half hour to read it. It was that long, but it was that good.
Yeah.
You know, this is me showing my age. I'm used to reading stuff that long. You know what I'm saying? I know
Yeah.
John is too, the English major.
Well, 15 minutes of that read came from the list.
Yeah,
I'm
bro.
exaggerating, but you know.
Yeah, for real. For
So
real.
in 2008, there was a massive fire in the back lot of Universal Studios. Apparently, the night before that all this happened, there were some maintenance workers. They were repairing a roof on the building on one of the sets. And if you guys are familiar with roof repair, in order to fix it, you ever see the guys when they lay the shingles out and then they throw like the tar and all that?
Mm-hmm.
They have to blowtorch it to seal it. And basically like the heat, gets all the whatever's up there. Shout out to the roofers out there. You know what I'm saying? I don't know exactly what I'm talking about, but I kind of do. They blowtorch the shingles which is custom. This is not something that's unordinary.
Mhm.
But basically, they finished the job real early in the morning. Somebody was supposed to keep watch on it, and I think somebody actually was keeping watch on it
Yeah,
to
they
make sure
stayed behind after for
exactly
some time.
because you got to keep an eye on it because apparently the shingles can at times maybe still remain too hot, and in this case, that is exactly what happened. The shingles remained too hot, and like a little while after the workers had left, a fire flared up. A little hot spot on the roof flared up. The fire spread mad quick across a whole bunch of the back lots, including the courthouse square that was used in the Back to the Future series. Zari was actually talking about that because Zari actually lived out in Cali for a little while.
Yeah.
And he didn't know about this fire, but he said when he was out there, he felt like the set looked different. And obviously
Yeah.
now we know it's because they had to rebuild it.
Yeah.
About 2/3 of the building was used to store tapes, film reels. All of this is controlled by Universal's parent company, NBC Universal. But there was this one guy, I think his last name is Aronson. He was actually, I forget what his first name is, but you guys can read the story. He actually controlled or was like the person that was in charge of a completely separate space in this vault that was fenced off, 2,400 square feet, 18 feet high, 18 feet storage shelves that went up to 18 feet. And it was all sound recordings from their library, a repository of some of the most historically significant material owned by Universal Music Group, the world's largest record company.
So what you're saying is he got fired.
Nah, I don't think it was his fault though, but he probably did. So what happened was initially, like, again, this is back in 2008. The news actually got out because obviously, I mean, this fire is massive. You can see that, John, from all of the highways out in California.
Any fire you can see miles away.
So it made the rounds of the news the next day, but apparently what happened was all of the representatives kept saying that it was only some film stuff that was damaged. Come to find out via the New York Times that this was all the way a lie. So, according to some of the Universal Music Group documents, This particular vault that burned down, the vault completely burned down, guys, by the way. This is not just a little brush fire or something like that. That joint is gone forever. The vault held analog tape masters dating as far back as the late 1940s. And they also had digital masters of more recent vintage stuff, multi-track recordings, raw recorded materials. We're talking about multi-tracks where everything is isolated, sounds, drums. This is priceless.
Yeah.
Priceless artifacts. Like Joe's making my stomach hurt just thinking about it, right?
For sure.
They held session masters, recordings that were never commercially. So think about this. Think about somebody like, let's use Etta James as one of the people who's all her stuff is gone. So Etta James, one of the most iconic singers, you know what I'm saying, and maybe not of our time, but you know, the last 2-3 generations.
Hopefully you know who we're talking about, and her song is At Last.
Exactly. We're talking about, let's say Etta James has recorded all these super hit records. We all know At Last, but what happens if she has like 50 other songs
unreleased
that they just are holding on to for maybe if they want to do 100th year anniversary? Because I think that these labels are going to do stuff like that.
Yeah.
Not anymore.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, bro.
So bad.
Yeah,
they still can.
They're gonna sell urns.
Yo, all right, man.
They're gonna sell ashes.
Yo, you going too far now. So this is the juicy part that you were talking about that you wanted to bring into the show. This dude is always pushing the gas too far.
Yo.
So think about, you know, they have all this stuff that literally, you know what I'm saying? Like like nobody has ever heard, and it is lost forever.
Yeah. So sad, man.
To make matters worse, it didn't just hold Universal's masters, but it held a whole bunch of masters for other music labels. MCA, ABC, A&M, Geffen, Interscope. And it also held masters for a lot of subsidiary labels. So you think about like an Interscope, how many, like, what do you got? Shady? And then what's 50's labels called? G-Unit. Let's say with Kendrick, you would have TDE would probably be under there in some way, shape, or form. TDE is on Interscope, isn't it? Just the whole label?
I wonder. Right? I believe so.
So if Interscope stuff is burned, then that means that, and this happened before Kendrick came on, so this is like later.
Yeah.
But let's just say that Kendrick came out in 2000, all his stuff would be gone, right?
Well, if it was like stuff that was like masters kept. So obviously, like around that time, you wouldn't keep like masters, I guess, in those kind of vaults from like that era.
Right.
It's more so digital. This is more.
You gotta wonder where like someone like Jay-Z keeps his masters, or where Nipsey kept his masters.
I'm pretty sure they were probably in a place where it's completely fireproof. Which was this is the part that I really want us to talk about is if it's called a vault, why wasn't it in a fireproof, waterproof place? I don't understand that. In California, of all places where the wildfire is the mascot.
I mean, you don't need to use fire to ruin tapes.
That's what I just said. That's why I said to Zari.
You could do a lot worse than fire.
Yeah, because I was asking him about the sprinkler system, but he was saying water damage is just as bad as having a fire damage.
It'll do the same thing.
I mean, if you have water damage, at least you still have the physical copy, and you can put it like on a museum mantle or something like that. Like, oh, hey, this is the actual original. Like, you still have a physical piece. You may not be able to play it or use it, but you still have like a physical property of it.
Also, to say this to your question, Wes, in the article they said it's like a common knowledge secret that's been hiding in plain sight. Like a lot of people know about it, but it hasn't hit the broader public until now. So to me, it speaks to the why of like, yo, why didn't they do this? Is like that's how dumb they feel, and they've tried to cover up this long because it's like they know they messed up. Like that's just stupid, man.
Yo,
you got one job. Protect your property, man. Especially these artists. Like this is history, man. Like it's crazy.
This is literally like the old scrolls. So let's say like the Talmud, the Old Testament, the Torah,
right?
The Old and New Testament, the Quran,
Dead Sea Scrolls,
like any of all this, like just burning, and like nobody has like
OGs.
We do have we obviously have copies of this stuff, and
There's a lot
obviously
of
UMG has copies
It's
of
written on our
everything.
hearts.
But here's the conundrum. First of all, before we get into the conundrum and why this is such a bad thing, let's talk about some numbers. Randy Aronson, that was the guy who I was talking about earlier, the guy that's in charge of all this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Of the vault. My man said the real number as far as like what was lost, 175,000 songs and albums and singles masters. The numbers of destroyed recordings stretches into the hundreds of thousands. Another confidential report issued later in 2019, UMG asserted that an estimate 500,000 song titles were lost.
Yeah.
Bruh. That joint is making me queasy.
Ooh,
Just thinking about that joint.
it's sad.
Now, let's go into some of the most prominent names, because now you guys gonna have to give me 2 minutes, because
Before we, I just think it's amazing how like how all these recordings are lost, but yet like this Jay-Z just released the Prince, like all of the did you guys see that, the Prince album? I'm just kind of happy, like, you know, by that chance Prince, I know Prince wasn't signed to Universal, he was Warner, but I think it's just cool how, like, you know, we still got some cool stuff left.
right.
But 100 and how many thousand songs is crazy.
No,
500,000.
500,000.
That's wild, man.
Yeah, sorry, I
It's
just
just the
wanted
physical
to,
copies were like 175,000 plus, but the
Some of that
actual there were
stuff,
multiple
yeah.
recordings on each of those items, so that's why
Yeah,
it's
some of that
estimated
stuff is like
into
it's from an era where it's very important to have it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that-
the
in that
40s.
way.
Because the other
Yeah,
thing
yeah.
too for me
Yeah.
is like this goes, so like on the surface it's like you're devastated because of the artist that you know.
Right.
But think about all the engineers, all the
Yeah.
musicians, all the producers that were on these records.
Mm-hmm.
Like what happens if a family owns the estate of a real prominent producer from the 1950s and they are still as a family living off of the masters from this particular time? You know what I'm saying? Now all of a sudden that joint is just like,
I think this is worse than NASA losing the tapes for the moon landing.
yeah, we know
This
why they
is-
lost them joints.
What-
They lost them Jones on
never
purpose. Nah, but let's go down some of these names because this is bad. You got
Please.
Duke Ellington, Count Basie, Dizzy Gillespie,
Wait,
Max
slow-
Roach.
oh,
Hold on.
slow down, brother.
Hold on.
Jeez.
Max Roach, Art Blakely, Sonny Rollins, Charles Mingus, Alice Coltrane, Sun Ra, Pharoah Sanders, Louis Armstrong, Duke Ellington, Al Jolson, Bing Crosby, Ella Fitzgerald, Judy Garland.
That's
Now
a
these are
tragedy.
like the old.
That's a
That's the old
tragedy.
stuff. Now let's start
Yeah.
talking about some of the newer stuff that everybody that's listening to our podcast will understand now. Okay, Lionel Hampton, Ray Charles, and they haven't. Some of these I want you to understand. It's not all. Some of these people lost everything, but some of these people lost the majority of their stuff.
Yeah.
Sammy Davis Jr., Fats Domino, Big Mama Thornton, Burl Ives, Ernest Tubb, Loretta Lynn, George Jones, Bobby Blue Band, BB King, Ike Turner, Four Tops, Quincy Jones, which is making my stomach hurt, Neil Diamond, Sonny and Cher, who else? The Carpenters, Gladys Knight and the Pips, Al Green, Elton John, Leonard Skinner, Eric Clapton, Jimmy
Eric
Buffett, and
Clapton.
the Eagles, Aerosmith, Steely Dan, Iggy Pop, Rufus and Shaka Khan, Barry Wright,
gosh.
Patti LaBelle, Yoko Ono, Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, The Police,
Oh, the police.
Sting, R.E.M., Janet Jackson, Eric B. and Rakim, New Edition, Bobby Brown, Guns N' Roses, Queen Latifah, Mary J. Blige, Sonic Youth, No Doubt,
Wow.
9 Inch Nails, Snoop, Nirvana, Soundgarden, Hole, Beck, Sheryl Crow, Tupac,
This is
Eminem,
ridiculous.
50 Cent, and The Roots.
Anybody who anybody,
This
right?
is bad.
Sheesh.
This is so bad.
So many major hitters.
This is so bad. Now, it goes without saying that like now you get to the place where you kind of meet the fork in the road where it's like you're kind of like, well, I mean, they should have converted all this stuff anyway. Here's the problem.
That's cool.
You
want
still
the
always have
originals.
to have
Yeah.
a hard copy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the reason why you have to have a hard copy is because you can manipulate digital too easily. Right? So now somebody could literally come through because technology is going to this place. Listen, you can't even sample anymore because the algorithms will pick out your sample in 2 seconds.
Right.
As much as you chopped it, as much as you threw filters on it, it's still going to pick it out, right? So now what somebody can do is, in essence, somebody can come out and they can say, oh, I own the original recording. I actually own it. and present it, and now it's just like you can't really verify it because you don't have a hard copy now. This is insane.
So it kind of makes you wonder, like, what's something like this going to do as far as the negotiations from an artist to the actual label.
Yeah.
As far as, like, an artist wanting to buy back their masters. Well, we don't have a physical copy anymore. So, hey, you don't have the physical. I can offer you this much.
Right.
This is like you don't really have that leverage anymore because you don't have the physical copy.
Right.
Wild, bro.
And the other thing too is that, I have to wonder what type of, like, from an evaluation standpoint, how much what Universal is worth at that time, how much it plunges in an hour.
Wow.
Because this is going back to the initial conversation that we had earlier about IP. So Universal owns all of that IP and it's gone.
So do you think their stock takes a hit now? Because it couldn't have taken a hit back then because they didn't say anything about it. They didn't.
So crazy.
That's the part that, go ahead, Smite.
No, two things. I'm just thinking about the fact that, like, I'm thinking about, like, back in the day, these engineers, like, they buy a tape reel for a session. They, like, buy a couple tape reels, like, thinking, like, okay, I'm about to do a session with Duke Ellington. I'm about to do a session with Barry White. The information that is about to be on this reel is going to be worth.
There's no number. There's no number. Like, you can't put a monetary value on this at all. Like, that's the part that's killing me specifically. Is you're talking about, this is the biggest music library in the world. Nobody owns more music than Universal does.
Yeah.
But so now the other thing that I just can't help but think, I know this is maybe besides the point, but it just kind of seems symbolic of the fact that, like, once music is out there and a few years pass by, especially the generation we're in now, it might as well be burned away. Which is bad because I know if anyone appreciates, like, the history of music, it's me.
Right.
I love all the jazz artists that you name. Those are all artists that I listen to. That's music that I grew up on.
Right.
So it hurts to hear. But there's music that comes out now that, of course, is digital. You can't burn something that's digital away. But with where music is going and how we consume music, might as well be burned away forever because my children, I'm gonna teach my children. I don't have any kids, guys. My future children
that you know of. It's like, no.
Of course, I'm gonna teach them who these people are. But I just feel like for just in general, it's just kind of symbolic of where we are. And at the end of the day, it's just music.
Right.
It's worth an invaluable amount of money or what have you, but also it's just music and it's gone. But we're gonna be making so
John.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting you said that too, Smythe. It could be taken as like a symbolic kind of thing, just the era, like kind of truly an era kind of passing. Now we have to take even more, I guess, pride and effort in preserving past records of history like that and kind of connecting it to and inform us now musically. But yeah, it's just a tragedy. And
the other thing too, it's a whole lot easier to lose newer. It's a whole lot easier to lose newer music because it's all digital.
Digital, yeah.
Mhm.
So literally, you could just trash it, and it's gone forever.
Yep.
Like you can't recover it.
Yeah, like your hard drive just automatically failing on you one day.
Yeah, that happened to me. I lost.
There goes your masters.
Years of music.
Yeah.
Back in 2009, John devastated me.
Yeah,
Or
I
2010.
still got some of your old beats.
Yeah.
or like The Life of Pablo, Kanye keeps updating the mix on that joint on iTunes.
Really?
people download the original one, so they still have that original mix, but you won't find that anywhere if you didn't do that.
Yeah.
Who knows if he even has it?
Just to backtrack, the fact that y'all are talking about Kanye like he hasn't done anything good since
Did
whatever.
we say that?
Oh
Life
my
say that.
God.
And Life of
It's
Pablo.
another
Did anybody say
podcast.
that?
Another
Life of Pablo
guys,
is
another
one
podcast.
of the greatest hip hop
But
albums.
did
ever.
any of us even state that at all?
We got
Nobody
to do a Kanye
stated that.
special.
I felt it.
All we said was we tuned out a little bit. That's all I said. I still listen
Another
to the
podcast.
records.
We'll do it next week, maybe.
No, we're never doing that.
We're never doing that.
We're never doing that shit.
That's like a 5-hour episode.
Also, that John will bankrupt us as a company because
The
it's
things
too
that'll be shared.
polarizing.
Yeah.
Polarizing.
Kanye, we love you.
Yeah.
But you're right.
Or we
But,
can go viral. Who knows?
You know, I just feel like we have to do a better job at archiving and protecting. But I just feel like people moving forward are not really gonna care about the history of music. I personally don't see people
The newer
caring that
generation?
much. Yeah, maybe. I mean, my generation, already doesn't care. But I mean, was it Generation Z? I don't know.
Do you care, Smythe?
Oh, he
yeah,
100% cares.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm just messing with
Oh,
you.
yeah. What if I was like, nah, not really. Dooku? Hella what? No, it's sad, but I had to accept it. I just feel like people don't care as much as I will stand by. Life of Pablo was a classic album. I think if we were in an era where people cared about calling stuff classic, Life of Pablo would be classic.
Oh, they definitely
Pimp a
don't care.
Butterfly.
They'll listen to 2 minutes of an album, haven't
Yeah,
finished
then
it,
it's-
and they'll call it a classic instantly.
But then be done with it.
Yeah.
So
But I don't know, man. I think that's more of I think that's always been something. I don't think youth have ever cared about legacy. Like, I think about it now, like, bro, like 15 years ago, I wasn't thinking about my legacy at all.
No.
So if I wasn't thinking about my legacy, I sure as hell wasn't thinking about nobody else's legacy.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
And it's not until
That's
you
a good
get
point.
older. So I don't want to say like that this generation, even though right now they don't care, but generations have always not cared about something or another.
Yeah,
You
the
know what I'm
younger
saying?
generation.
It's not until you start having kids
Yeah.
and you start realizing, low key, my kids are literally my master recordings. Like that's how you start looking at it. You're like, this child literally is a part of like the thing.
this is beautiful, by the way.
Thank you.
I'm so glad we're recording this. I'm about to listen back to this part. No, sorry. Go ahead.
Kids
Go
are my
ahead.
master recorder.
But when you start to build a family and you start to build memories, now all of a sudden, like my wife takes pictures all the time, and I'm like, why are you taking so many pictures? And I catch myself all the time because I'm like, she is literally documenting this point in time that literally I will never be able to relive again except through this medium.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So it's I think it's the same thing with the music. I think we'll always have at least a small group of people that will always make sure that we do our best to preserve the things that are so important to our time. And I just think like with music commodification, I think that goes to why it's like here and gone. Because the thing that also stuck out to me too is this whole thing with this fire, this is pre-streaming.
Yep.
So it didn't happen, like this happened just as we were kind of crossing over into the real digital age as far as, all of the mediums and stuff like that. Because I'm telling you, I was in school, it's back in like 2003. We still, before we could sit down on a DAW, we had to cut tape. And that was in 2003. That wasn't that long ago. So
Listen, I'm still a guy that likes to keep my physical stuff. Like a lot of people like, oh yeah, just throw it in the cloud. Yeah, but I feel like I can't really trust that cloud because, if there's a fire at that server, they still have backup servers. All right, what about the backup server? Oh, there's another backup server for the backup server. All right, what about that backup server for the backup server? They can all catch fire. I need my physical property.
Can I be honest with you? I've actually quietly considered, I probably shouldn't.
Like I still
I'm
buy
not gonna talk
4K
about this. I'll
Blu-rays. I
talk to you
still buy
guys.
4K Blu-rays instead of buying it digitally.
Yeah, I'll talk to you guys about this off the show.
I feel
was
like I
about to
know
wild
what
out right now.
Yeah,
Way
I
to
feel like
make
I
the
know what you're
listeners
about to say.
Angry.
Yeah.
You pump fake them real quick.
Yeah. I'm all the way about to share mad trade secrets just now. And dudes have been like, that's what y'all doing. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I just think that there's always going to be, like, when I look at a Smythe, like, you're an anomaly. I don't see young people like you in the world, but you do exist. You know what I'm saying? And there's more of you than you think.
There's a gift and a curse to that.
That's funny.
Nah, but
Ouch.
yeah, it's you know, I mean, I hate the fact that this. I really would have wished that maybe Universal just would have been honest about this from the jump. I think that everybody would have had compassion on them if they just would have came out and said. But you also got to think about all the legal ramifications. Because I said to Zari when we were talking about it, I think they were totally fine with coming out about the music or the movie stuff or anything having, because they owned all that stuff.
Right.
But like the music stuff, like they got all this stuff that they're housing other people's stuff.
Yeah.
That's,
You know,
it's pretty crazy.
what the article kind of said too, like some of the artists probably don't know still.
Yeah.
Ooh.
That was the
Cringy.
part that burned me up. I was like, wow, they really don't know. Hate to see it.
Yeah, like this just one of my friends told me a story about how she was recording, I think 5 tracks, and she had paid musicians, to record the music and everything, and it was done at some like home studio, and she said the guy's hard drive crashed and he didn't have a backup. So I didn't know she did it at her home studio. So I'm like, what kind of studio doesn't have a hard drive backup? And she was distraught because she had to literally pay these musicians to do it again. There's nothing like the first time when you do something. It's just not the same.
It's not.
But take that and multiply it by legendary status artists times 300 of them.
Yeah, because and
300 artists.
the musicians.
How many
legendary
different time.
musicians are on these records?
Oh, because
Yeah.
the article also said that they lost masters for keyboard recordings, guitar recordings,
Yeah, Chuck Berry.
orchestra recordings.
When I read Chuck Berry, I'm just thinking about like, yo, the guitar for Johnny B. Good.
Man,
I don't know if that probably was one of them, which would be a shame.
I'm pretty
Johnny
sure they
B.
have
Good.
some Chuck Berry sessions in there of him just like going off
Yeah.
with no lyrics, just like literally just playing.
Wow.
It's kind of insane.
I need a Band-Aid for my heart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, great show this week, guys. It sucks that we kind of ended on a sad note.
Yeah.
Sometimes when we talk about the news, it's not always going to be good news, man, unfortunately. And, for everybody listening, man, it's just like what I was thinking about as far as even wanting to talk about it on the show was anything that we talk about on the show, I'm always thinking about how it pertains to us as producers and musicians. And I can't tell you how many guys that I've seen who have lost everything because they haven't backed up their files multiple times and spread it out in multiple places so that they in essence are safeguarding themselves.
Oh, it hurts.
Yeah, straight up. And like I've even gotten to a place now where we started saving everything visually that we do for the company, because in the past, like we would create some visual stuff, we'd upload it, and now it's on YouTube or it's on Instagram, and then we would delete it off the hard drive.
Right.
I told him to stop doing that.
Yep.
So anything that we do is like there's like a final whatever, that thing is saved now.
Yeah.
And what
It's
I'm
in the cloud, but it's also on the drive too.
and one of these days we're gonna just get like a tower and just offload everything onto that, and then probably back that one up too, and I'm probably gonna take that John and put it in the bank, in the vault, in a real vault, and safeguard it. It's just that real now, and this article is kind of a wake up call even for me, and I'm sure John feels this way, us as business owners, about how important what we're doing is, and how important that
intellectual property.
when you think about when you think about how we talked about, yo man, it's dope to hear us on the Gold Link record. Yo, Soul Surplus not only is etched in history because of what we did the first time, but now it's also etched in history again because of what somebody did on a much bigger platform. Like that's huge, man.
Yeah.
So this is not small potatoes. We shouldn't take what we do as a small thing, even if nobody knows us from a can of paint. Legacy is all that this is about, and we just want to make sure that we're doing the best to make sure that we uphold our legacy at all times, man.
Indeed.
Yep.
But shout out to everybody listening. Make sure you go and you check out all the sample packs that were a part of this background music in this show. Shout out to NordVPN, our sponsor for this show. Again, make sure you guys visit nordvpn.org/soulsurplus. Get 75% off a 3-year plan with 1 month for free. You can cancel that at any time if you find out maybe it's not exactly what you thought. But again, we appreciate you guys checking in, and we'll see you guys next week.
Later.
For the Kanye West episode.
Oh my gosh.
Goodness. Anyway, see you guys next week. Peace.
Or